Welcome back to Off the Beaten Path, and we are on chapter 4 in First Nephi. And it came to pass that I spake unto my brethren, saying, Let us go up again unto Jerusalem, let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. For behold, he is mightier than all the earth. Then why not mightier than Laban and his 50, yea, or even his tens of thousands? Every time I read this chapter, I always have to go back and read the last verse and read the two verses. The last verse from chapter 3 and the first verse from chapter 4, they have to be read together. They really go so well. And I'll let you do that on your own. Therefore, let us go up. Let us be strong like unto Moses, for he truly spake unto the waters of the Red Sea, and they divided hither and thither, and our fathers came through out of captivity on dry ground. And the armies of Pharaoh did follow and were drowned in the waters of the Red Sea. So the strength of Moses is faith. Now behold, you know that this is true, and you also know that an angel hath spoken unto you. Wherefore can ye doubt? So he's saying, you got the guarantee, the angel's guarantee. But honestly, for someone that is severely faith deficient and somebody asks you, wherefore do you doubt? Their response would probably be, how much time do you have? Let's sit down. Where do I start? So many people, especially today, they're so depleted from all the trials we've had lately in the pandemic and politics and people just turning against each other and families becoming divided. People are just tired, and some of them have gone into zombie mode, just like in the movies. They're just tired of getting worked up over things that they have no power over. And that's zombieitis. That's where you're just like, I quit while you're still alive, while you're still in a relationship, while you're still at a job, where you kind of check out in a way. And as we see with this mental health crisis that is sweeping the nation, people kind of check out. And it's really hard to be doubtful, when you're trying to just get through life. And to be pessimistic, because that negative energy is you working against you. And so negativity does nothing but, make gravity stronger on you, make opposition stronger on you. So honestly, a lot of times we think of some things the prophets command us or Jesus suggests, but honestly, trying to see the good in things, trying to find gratitude, all those things will help release you from the demons of negativity and ingratitude, because it's easy to get negative in today's world. Okay, but I digress. Let us go up. And it's so easy for Nephi because he has that confirmation of faith. When you're, again, you working against you is when you're so doubtful and when you're so negative. And Nephi didn't have that weight on him. He was the opposite. So he's like, yeah, let's go. The Lord is able to deliver us, even as our fathers, and to destroy Laban, even as the Egyptians. And now when I had spoken these words, they were yet wroth and did still continue to murmur. Yeah, they're not sold, Nephi. Nevertheless, they did follow me up until we came without the walls of Jerusalem. And it came to pass, and it was by night, and I caused that they should hide themselves without the walls. And this, I just, you want to be a fly on the wall, Laman and Lemuel looking at each other. Wait, all we have to do is wait and hide here while you go in and get the plates? Deal. Double stamp, no take backs. They're like, okay, sounds okay, we'll wait here, off you go. And after they had hid themselves, I, Nephi, crept into the city. Only a cartoon would do that image justice. And I, Nephi, crept into the city and went forth towards the house of Laban. And I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. And this is, if we take anything away from their little adventure back to Jerusalem, it's this verse. Finally, the Lord had him exactly where he wanted him, completely void of all his own ideas. And so many times our own ideas delay the project, and just trusting that when it seems like we're taking another path, or you're meeting resistance and it seems like you're just meeting failure and failure after failure, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree. Maybe you're going the wrong way. You're going about something the wrong way. So we should always consider that. That's what their adventure teaches us, that sometimes our logic doesn't get the problem solved, and we have to rely entirely on our relationship with the Lord to solve our problems. And it will become more and more like that as time goes on, because things will get even more confounding. If you think they're confusing now, that confusion will continue. Nevertheless, I went forth, and as I came near unto the house of Laban, I beheld a man, and he had fallen to the earth before me, for he was drunken with wine. And you just hope that this was coordinated by the Lord, that he was prompted, have some more, because the more you have, the less you'll feel, because tonight's your last night on earth, and it could be that Laban, these records were as important to Laban as they were to Lehi and his family. And if they, blood could be drawn over the preciousness of these records, and the Lord knowing that Laban is not going to listen to, Lehi, even if he was known as a prophet, Laban had some, position of power. So, he doesn't necessarily have to listen to what Lehi has to say. So, especially when it comes to asking him to part with, a very, very dear family heirloom, something personal and priceless, even by today's standards. So you just hope that he was the, over my dead body type of guy. And so God said, okay, sad to hear that, but here, drink up tonight, and when I came to him, I found that it was Laban, and I beheld his sword, and I drew it forth from the sheath thereof, and the hilt thereof was of pure gold, and the workmanship thereof was exceedingly fine. And I saw that the blade thereof was of the most precious steel. And it came to pass that I was constrained by the Spirit that I should kill Laban. Again, that word constrained, it's almost, you want to say bullied, like, really pressure. Heavy peer pressure. This is spirit pressure by the Spirit that I should kill Laban. But I said in my heart, never at any time have I shed the blood of man. And I shrunk and would that I might not slay him. And the Spirit said unto me again, behold, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Yea, and I also knew that I had sought to take away. So here the Spirit's going, look, the Lord is delivering him to you like this. So easy, couldn't make it easier. Look at, he's anesthetized for you, he's laying down, you got his sword in your hands. I mean, okay, can we get this done? But Nephi starts to go off on his own, thinking, yea, and I also knew that he had sought to take away mine own life, yea, and he would not hearken unto the commandments, and he was a sinner anyway of the Lord, and he also had taken away our property. So here Nephi again tries to come up with the logic why it was be okay for him to slay this man. He tempted his life. He was a sinner anyway, and he was a thief, so okay, well, he's trying to work himself up to this. And it came to pass that the Spirit said unto me again, slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Behold, so the Lord, this time the angel's like, okay, the Spirit's like, okay, I got to give more of an explanation. And behold, the Lord slayeth the wicked to bring forth his righteous purposes. It is better that one man should perish than a nation should dwindle and perish in disbelief. Now, here's the thing. First of all, these are the Lord's grounds. So Nephi could come up with his reasons, and the Spirit does not acknowledge them. Like, good idea, well put. No. He's here. This is what has to happen. He's here. This is what has to happen. And then, okay, if you must know, this plan, or this is going to so deeply affect the lives of so many people that, and there's no other way to get these records from Laban that, we're this is the only way to do it. So, and the thing is that a nation did perish and dwindle and perish in disbelief. They did, the Lamanites and the Nephites both. So you wonder, so then the Spirit maybe wasn't talking about them. Maybe the Spirit was talking about other nations, the nations of today who have these words. Maybe these words are so important. Maybe they're more applicable today, however they came to be in our possession. Maybe these words are going to help guide us through the type of world we live in, which is very similar, we'll see, very similar. The corruption and the lies and the denials and the power games and just all these things that are taking place today are also going to be taking place in the pages to come, and how the people dealt with that conflict in their society, continual conflict in their society. And now when I, Nephi, had heard these words, I remembered the words of the Lord which he spake unto me in the wilderness, saying that inasmuch as thy seed shall keep my commandments, they shall prosper in the land of promise. Yea, and I also thought that they could not keep the commandments of the Lord according to the law of Moses, save they should have the laws. In other words, again, sometimes Nephi puts things and you're like, okay, so in other words, they would not know how to prosper in the land, how to invite God's presence into their lives. But you wonder if Nephi quite got the definition of prosperity. You hope so. They will forget even there is a God if we don't preserve our sacred writings. And I think any culture would believe that's true. If you thought you were the last, Jews on earth, it would be super important for you to preserve those records. Or if you were the last Muslim or, the last Mormon, you would risk your life to get the last copy of the Book of Mormon, or you would risk your life to get the last copy of the Bible or the Quran, or all the, the Upanishads, all the holy works, that have been written over time. Whoever, a Hindu, a Muslim, a Christian, a Mormon, and the most sane person would grab them all, if they were to preserve them all for our generations. Because as the Book of Mormon teaches, the Lord speaks to all people. That's why I love this book. Okay, and I also knew that the law was, engraven upon the plates of brass. And again, I knew that the Lord had delivered Laban into my hands for this cause, that I might obtain the records according to his commandments. And that is the bottom line. Just get the plates. We don't need to go off on projections and theories. Just get the plates. Sometimes we think we need to know the whys and wherefores, and we don't. So we just like, okay, forget this. And it's so too bad, because very often if you follow those promptings where you feel like you're being led to something, either towards your safety or to your wisdom, whatever it is, even to people, to have people in our lives, if you deny yourself those promptings, it's really too bad, because you're denying yourself so much in your life. By not trusting that there is a purpose to whatever prompting you get. Sometimes there's a purpose. And very often it's worth investigating. Therefore I did obey the voice of the Spirit, and took Laban by the hair of the head, and I smote off his head with his own sword. You wonder, was he already planning on taking his clothes and stuff? So he, laid him downhill so that he'd bleed that way. And he'd preserve his clothes. Who knows, because he puts his clothes on. And after I had smitten off the head with his own sword, I took the garments of Laban and put them upon mine own body, yea, even every whit. And I did gird on his armor about my loins. And I really can't imagine he could have put all that on if it was drenched in blood. He had to have done this in such a way that it didn't get blood on it, because it would have stunk. And Zoram, the servant that he meets later on, would have immediately been like, what happened? So there's just no way that those clothes and even that sword had to be put back in its sheath and hidden, if from any residual blood. But you wonder how he accomplished this. And after I had done this, I went forth unto the treasury of Laban. As I went forth towards the treasury of Laban, behold, I saw the servant of Laban who had the keys of the treasury, and I commanded him in the voice of Laban. So lying is sometimes necessary. So Nephi would have had to answer, have you ever lied? Oh yeah, sure. I made, Zoram think I was Laban. I had to. We had to get the plates. He had the keys. So the voice of Laban, that he should go with me into the treasury. And he supposed me to be his master, Laban, for he beheld the garments, and also the sword girded about my loins. I mean, back in the day, I guess nothing, said your identity like, your sword. And he spake unto me concerning the elders of the Jews, he knowing that his master Laban had been out by night among them. And I spake unto him as if it had been Laban. And I also spake unto him that I should carry the engravings which were upon the plates of brass to my elder brethren who were without the wall. So yeah, he's honest, but he knows that's not what Zoram is thinking. Of the right brothers. Zoram is picturing entirely different brothers. And I also bade him that he should follow me. And he, supposing that I spake of the brethren of the church, and that I was truly that Laban whom I had slain, wherefore he did follow me. And he spake unto me many times concerning the elders of the Jews, as I went forth unto my brethren who were without the wall. So, in other words, Nephi had to go along with this for quite some time. And it came to pass that when Laban saw me, he was exceedingly frightened, and also Lemuel and Sam, and they fled from before my presence, for they supposed it was Laban, and that he had slain me, and had sought to take away their lives also. And it came to pass that I called after them, and they did hear me, wherefore they did cease to flee from my presence. And it came to pass that when the servant of Laban beheld my brethren, he began to tremble, and was about to flee from before me, and return to the city of Jerusalem. And now I, Nephi, being a man large in stature, okay, again, he just wants to remind you. And also, having received much strength of the Lord, therefore I did seize upon the servant of Laban, and held him, that he should not flee. And it came to pass that I spake with him, that if he would hearken unto my words, as the Lord liveth and as I live, even so that if he would hearken unto our words, we would spare his life. In other words, do what you say or we're going to kill you. That if somebody asked you to bullet point that verse, that was how a prophet says, do what we say, or we're going to kill you. I'm sorry, that is such a good one. Okay, so, and I spake unto him even with an oath that he need not fear. Okay, that's kind of hard to, I'm sure he's trying to clarify after that last one, that he should be a free man like unto us, if he would go down in the wilderness with us. So again, obviously he was a servant, but also they wanted to make sure that he had to come with them, because he had to take the fall for what happened to Laban. They had to think it was Zoram, because then they dropped the matter and they wouldn't investigate anybody. But if Zoram stayed, he would say it was that nutty Lehi and his bratty kids, so he had to go, or they were going, or either way, it was not going to work out for Zoram, because he gave him the plates. Either way, it wasn't going to work out. How could you not know it wasn't Laban? So I mean, it wasn't going to go well for him either way. So a free man like unto us, if he would go down the wilderness with us. And I also spake unto him, saying, surely the Lord hath commanded us to do this thing, and shall we not be diligent in keeping the commandments of the Lord? Therefore, Nephi is always trying to convince people. It's so funny. Therefore, if thou wilt go down into the wilderness to my father, thou shalt have place with us. And it came to pass that Zoram did take courage at the words which I spake. And he also realized the predicament he was in. Oh man, I gave the plates to this guy, and he was the guy that killed Laban. There were many reasons why he could have been convinced to leave. And it came to pass that Zoram did take courage at the words which I spoke. Now Zoram was the name of the servant, and he promised that he would go down into the wilderness unto our father, yea, and he also made an oath unto us that he would tarry with us from that time forth. Now we were desirous that he should tarry with us for this cause, that the Jews might not know concerning our flight into the wilderness, lest they should pursue us and destroy us. And it came to pass that when Zoram had made an oath unto us, our fears did cease concerning him. What a different world, Nowadays, are you coming at 7? Yeah, we'll be there at 7. 9:15, you get a text. Oh, so-and-so came over, or what, it's like, can you imagine living in a world where it's like, I'm going to go live with you the rest of my life. Okay, wow, whew, you hang your hats up, you're okay, that's not the world we live in. And it came to pass that we took the plates of brass and the servant of Laban, and departed into the wilderness, and journeyed unto the tent of our father. So again, I just want to end the video with letting you know you're an amazing child of God, and to make love the standard of wherever you worship. Make sure that you know that you're among disciples because the love you feel for you. And I just want to leave that with you, and I'll see you again tomorrow.